The silent city beneath Mars. A crew discovers an ancient alien metropolis buried beneath the Martian surface that suddenly powers on after millions of years. No one heard Commander Elena Torres scream, not because space is silent, but because she was nearly 2 kilometers beneath the surface of Mars. Her helmet lights flickered wildly as the tunnel behind her collapsed in a storm of crimson dust. Something enormous was moving beneath the ground. It was not digging and it was not crawling. It was awakening. The walls around her began glowing with strange blue symbols that no human had ever seen. Then all at once, every light in the underground city switched on, thousands, millions of them, stretching farther than her eyes could see. An entire city, hidden beneath Mars for millions of years, had just come back to life. And somewhere deep inside it, something whispered her name. 7 months earlier, the spacecraft Ares Horizon drifted silently toward Mars. After decades of robotic exploration, humanity had finally launched its most ambitious mission, not to plant another flag, and not to build another research station, but to answer one question. Was Mars ever truly dead? Commander Elena Torres stood in the observation deck, staring at the crimson planet filling the window while, behind her, the crew prepared for orbital insertion. Dr. Noah Mercer, Earth's leading planetary geologist, adjusted the scanners one last time. If anyone could unlock Mars's secrets, it was him. Lieutenant Maya Chen checked the environmental systems, pilot Liam Brooks reviewed the landing procedures, and engineer Viktor Sokolov secured the excavation drones. 5 astronauts, 1 mission, and history waiting beneath the dust. Mission Control's voice crackled through the speakers. Ares Horizon, you are cleared for descent. Elena smiled. This is it. 6 hours later, the lander touched down inside Aurelia Basin, a massive crater hundreds of kilometers from the nearest human outpost. The location had puzzled scientists for years. Orbital satellites kept detecting impossible energy spikes, tiny bursts, always in the same location, always disappearing before anyone could investigate. There was no volcano, no magnetic anomaly, no explanation. Until now. The first few days were routine. Collect rock samples, deploy weather stations, map the underground ice deposits. Everything looked exactly like every other Martian expedition, silent, empty, dead. Then on the 5th day, everything changed. Dr. Mercer stared at his monitor. Commander, you need to see this. The ground-penetrating radar had detected something impossible. Perfect geometric lines, rectangles, circles, roads, far below the surface. At first they assumed it was equipment interference. Since Mars wasn't supposed to contain perfect geometry, nature didn't build cities. Mercer recalibrated the scanners again and again, and each scan showed the same thing. An enormous structure, almost 2 kilometers underground, stretching farther than the radar could measure. Liam leaned closer. How big is it? Mercer swallowed. If I'm right, it covers nearly 400 square kilometers. Silence filled the habitat. Nobody spoke because everyone was thinking the same thing. Cities don't happen by accident. Mission Control demanded additional scans, and 24 hours later the new images arrived. This time the structure was even clearer. Massive towers, straight avenues, circular plazas, and something resembling transportation tunnels. It looked artificial. Elena looked around the room. If this is real, we're standing over the greatest discovery in human history. 3 days later, the drilling platform began cutting into the ancient Martian rock. The machine chewed downward hour after hour, blasting dust across the barren landscape. 100 meters, 500, 1,000, still nothing. Then at exactly 1,973 meters, the drill suddenly stopped, not because it had hit rock, but because it had punched through into empty space. The sensors showed a massive underground cavity, perfectly sealed, millions of years old. No natural cave on Mars matched its shape. Victor stared at the display. There is an entire world under us. The crew suited up immediately, and a reinforced elevator descended through the shaft. The walls grew darker, older, smoother, as if someone had carved them with impossible precision. Nobody spoke. Only the sound of breathing echoed inside their helmets. At the bottom, their lights illuminated a gigantic metallic door, over 300 feet tall and covered in glowing symbols, symbols that had somehow survived millions of years beneath Mars. Mercer stepped closer. I don't think this is a door. What do you mean? Elena asked. He pointed upward. It opens from the inside. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Before anyone could respond, the symbols began glowing one after another, like stars appearing in the night sky, blue, white, gold. Then a deep vibration rolled through the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the ground trembled beneath their boots. Somewhere beyond the enormous doorway, ancient machines were starting, for the first time in millions of years. The astronauts had come searching for the past. Instead, they had awakened it, and what waited beyond that door had been waiting for humanity all along. The door did not open like anything human. There was no mechanical grind, no hydraulic pressure, no visible force. It simply unmade itself. The massive structure split along invisible seams, folding inward as if reality were being rewritten. A breath of cold air rushed out from the darkness below, not Martian air, but something older, something manufactured. Commander Elena Torres raised her light, and the beam disappeared into the void. "Lights on," she ordered. The team activated their suit lamps, and one by one their beams cut into the darkness and revealed something impossible. The elevator platform extended forward automatically, as if the structure recognized them, as if it had been waiting. Elena stepped first, then Mercer, then the rest of the crew followed in silence. Their boots touched a metallic surface, smooth, perfectly flat, not rusted, not broken, not buried, preserved. Dr. Mercer whispered, "This isn't a cave." His voice echoed strangely, not bouncing off the walls but repeating in layered delays, as if the space itself had memory. Elena's light swept forward, and the darkness gave way to a city. Massive structures stretched into the distance. Tower-like formations curved upward into a domed ceiling so high it vanished into shadow. Roads, perfectly straight, branched in geometric precision, and bridges floated between buildings with no visible support. In the center, a massive circular structure pulsed faintly with blue light. Everything was too clean, too precise, too intentional. Lieutenant Maya Chen stepped forward slowly. "This is impossible. There's no erosion, no decay, no collapse." Victor scanned the walls. No biological material either, no dust accumulation, nothing. Mercer's voice tightened. It's like time never touched it. Liam spoke quietly. "If this place has been buried for millions of years, why does it look active?" No one answered because deep down they all felt it. The city was not dead. It was waiting. Chapter 5, The First Signal. They moved deeper into the city, and every step echoed unnaturally. The city responded to their presence. Soft pulses of light traveled through the ground beneath them, not randomly, but directionally, following them. Elena stopped. "Is anyone else seeing that?" A series of lights ahead began activating in sequence, like a pathway forming, guiding them. Mercer checked his scanner. "Energy readings are rising, but I don't understand the source. There's no reactor signature, no fuel, no heat output." "Then what is powering it?" Maya asked. Mercer hesitated. "I think it's reacting to us." The path led them to a vast open plaza. At its center stood a structure unlike the rest, a sphere suspended above the ground, perfectly still, covered in shifting symbols. As they approached, the sphere noticed them. A pulse spread outward once, then twice, and then every structure in the city answered. Lights ignited across the skyline as miles of dormant architecture awakened at the same time. The entire underground metropolis had come alive. Alarms blared inside their suits. "Radiation spike," Victor shouted. But Mercer shook his head. "It's not radiation, it's data." The sphere projected something into the air above them, a holographic field forming without any light source. Shapes, moving patterns, a language, but not one that was written, one that was experienced. Elena felt it in her mind before she understood it with her eyes. Then a single phrase repeated through every suit speaker, but it was not translated. It was injected, not heard, but felt. The ground trembled, and the city responded again, this time differently. Louder, faster, as if something inside it had finally opened its eyes. Mercer stepped back. No, this isn't activation, this is recognition." Elena turned sharply. "Recognition of what?" Mercer looked at her, and for the first time he looked afraid. "Of us." The sphere expanded. Lines of light shot upward into the ceiling of the cavern, then outward into the city, and every structure began synchronizing, like a neural network coming online. A planet-sized intelligence buried beneath Mars was waking up. Suddenly a low sound echoed through the city, not mechanical, not natural but a voice and not a human one. The ground beneath them shifted, and panels opened along the streets. Something was moving beneath the city itself. Elena raised her weapon instinctively. What is that? Victor stared at the ground. We're not alone down here. Then it appeared, at first just shadows beneath the glowing floor, then shapes, tall, thin, not walking but gliding. Their forms were made of shifting geometry, as if physical space refused to stay solid. They had no faces and no limbs in the human sense, only structure, purpose, and awareness. Maya backed away. They're not robots. Mercer finished the sentence. They're the city. The entities stopped all at once, facing the humans. The sphere pulsed again, and the voice returned, stronger now, clearer, and no longer just inside their helmets, but inside their thoughts. Origin confirmed. Elena's breathing slowed. Origin. Mercer whispered, they didn't wake up because we entered the city. They woke up because, he swallowed. We matched something they were waiting for. The lights across the city intensified, and the structures shifted again. Deep beneath them, something massive began to move, a core system, a buried intelligence that had been dormant for millions of years because it was waiting for a specific signal. Humanity had just triggered it. The moment the city called them Origin, everything changed, not gradually, not carefully, but instantly, as if recognition was not a welcome but a trigger. The ground beneath the crew pulsed once, then split. A network of glowing lines spread through the streets like veins igniting, and the towering structures began shifting shape, not collapsing, not breaking, but reconfiguring. The city was rebuilding itself around them. Elena's voice cut through the comms. Move back, everyone regroup at the entry shaft. But her order didn't matter. The city had already decided otherwise. A section of the ground rose between the team like a wall, separating Mercer and Maya from Elena and Victor. The corridor they had entered was gone, replaced by solid, glowing architecture. Maya shouted, we're cut off. Static filled the comms, then silence. There was no signal between the separated teams. The city had divided them on purpose. Mercer looked around frantically. This isn't defense, it's classification. Elena turned sharply. What are you talking about? Mercer pointed at the shifting walls. It's analyzing us, separating us, studying our response behavior like we're part of an experiment. A low vibration rolled through the city, deeper than before, more deliberate. The geometric entities returned, but now they were not just observing, they were interacting. One of them moved toward Victor, the air around it bending strangely, as if gravity had forgotten how to behave. Victor raised his tool. Stay back. The entity stopped, then extended a thin projection of light. It touched Victor's visor, and in that moment Victor screamed, not in pain, but in overload. His suit displayed thousands of symbols at once as data streams flooded every system, and his body collapsed to his knees. Elena shouted through the comms, Victor, report. He gasped, I can see it. The city, it's not built, it's calculated. Elsewhere in the separated corridor, Maya and Mercer moved through narrowing pathways. The city was actively guiding them, not randomly but intentionally, like a predator directing prey. Mercer's voice was tense. It's not trying to kill us, it's trying to map us. Maya looked at him. Map us for what? Mercer hesitated. Replication. The walls flickered, suddenly showing brief images, not memories, not recordings, but simulations. Human cities, Earth skylines, spacecraft designs, even fragments of Mars missions. The city was pulling data from them, from their presence, from their minds. Maya stopped walking. Mercer, that thing just showed Earth. Mercer nodded slowly. It's learning what we are and deciding whether we should exist. Back with Elena, the central sphere in the plaza began descending slowly, like a planet lowering itself into orbit. The entire city reacted, structures aligned, pathways illuminated, everything focused toward the core. Elena and Victor stood on a rising platform being carried toward it against their will, not restrained, but directed. Victor was barely conscious, still overwhelmed by the data he had absorbed. Elena, he whispered, this isn't ancient, it's still running. Elena looked at him. What is? Victor's eyes widened. The system under the city, it never shut down. The platform stopped. They were now directly above the sphere. It opened not like a machine, but like an eye. Inside was not a reactor, not a control room, not machinery, but something far more disturbing. A vast neural structure, organic yet artificial, alive yet mechanical. It pulsed slowly like a sleeping mind forced awake, and then it spoke directly into Elena's mind. Specimens confirmed. Elena staggered. Specimens. The city responded immediately. The structures tightened, and the separation between teams became permanent. The experiment had entered its next phase. Maya and Mercer reached a sealed gateway, their only path back, but it was closing slowly, like a wound sealing itself. Mercer slammed his scanner against it. No access. It's adapting faster than we can decode it. Maya looked at him. We need another way out. Mercer shook his head. There is no out. Suddenly the walls lit up again, but this time they did not show data. They showed Earth in real time, cities, oceans, human civilization, then Mars, then the underground city. All connected, all visible, like a network revealing itself. And then came the worst part. A single line of text formed across every surface, not in English, not in any language, but understood anyway. Maya stepped back. What does that mean? Mercer's face went pale. It means we weren't the first. The ground beneath them opened slightly, and something massive moved far below the city. Something that had been there longer than Mars itself, waiting for activation cycles, waiting for candidates, waiting for humanity. And now the test had begun. The city was no longer exploring them, it was judging them. Somewhere beneath the glowing structures of Mars, something ancient was deciding whether humanity was a mistake or an outcome worth preserving. Deep in the core chamber, Commander Elena Torres stood frozen above the open sphere. The entity inside was no longer just light and structure. It was awareness, old beyond comprehension, and it was studying her as though she were a question that had finally been answered. Victor, barely conscious beside her, whispered through cracked breath, "It's not alien in the way we think." Elena turned. "What do you mean?" Victor's eyes shook. "It's not from Mars, it is Mars." The sphere responded, and a wave of information surged outward. The city around them shifted again, but this time not aggressively, revealing like peeling back layers of time. And what they saw changed everything. Beneath the alien architecture, beneath the geometric structures, was something older, natural Martian terrain, but modified, engineered, rewritten. Mars itself had been reshaped, not colonized, not invaded. Elena's voice broke. Who did this? The answer came instantly, not spoken, not translated, but understood in the mind. Mercer's voice echoed from a nearby comm channel, barely re-established. "We're not the first intelligent species to reach space." Elena whispered, "We're not even the second." The city expanded its projection and revealed the truth. Images filled the air, not just Mars, but Earth, millions of years ago, then again and again. Civilizations rising, falling, restarting, each time slightly different, each time observed, each time measured. Maya's voice broke through the static. "Mercer, what are we looking at?" Mercer swallowed. "A cycle, an intelligence test that spans planets." The core responded, and the words formed in their minds again, clearer now, heavier, final. Elena stepped back. "So every extinction, every reset." Victor nodded weakly. "Was recorded and compared." The city was not a city. Mars was not a planet in the human sense. It was a laboratory, a constructed world network designed to observe whether intelligent life could survive long enough to become stable. And humanity was one iteration, the latest attempt. The sphere began collapsing inward, not destroying itself but compressing information, preparing transmission. Mercer shouted through the comms, "It's making a report." "To where?" A pause, then Mercer answered quietly, "Somewhere outside the solar system." Elena looked up. "You're saying this is just a checkpoint?" Mercer nodded. "And if we pass, we get left alone." "And if we fail?" Silence. No one answered because they already knew. The city began powering down sections, not shutting off, but reassigning energy, preparing departure protocols. Something massive beneath Mars began activating. Not the city, not the sphere, but a deeper system. A transport mechanism. A signal was forming, strong enough to leave the planet, strong enough to leave the solar system, and it was being built from humanity's own presence, from their interaction, from their observation, from their existence. Elena ran toward the platform. "Everyone out now." Maya and Mercer were already moving, and Victor struggled behind them. But the city was no longer hostile. It was indifferent. Its purpose had shifted. Above them, the core sphere fully sealed and emitted one final pulse across Mars, across space, across time. Then something impossible happened. A structure beneath the city detached, not physically, but conceptually, like information being lifted out of reality. And it rose through the surface, through the dust storms, through the atmosphere. A massive object emerged from Mars, not a ship, not a satellite, but a data construct given physical form, a message, a verdict, a seed. And it launched into space, heading toward Earth. The crew escaped the underground city just as the entrance sealed shut behind them. The desert of Mars was silent again, as if nothing had happened, as if it had always been empty. Elena stood outside the excavation site, breathing heavily. We should destroy the coordinates. Mercer shook his head slowly. It won't matter. Maya looked at him. Why not? Mercer pointed upward at the night sky. Somewhere far beyond Mars, a signal has already left, and Earth is already in its path. Victor spoke quietly. So what happens now? Mercer answered with a hollow expression. We wait. Elena looked at Mars one last time. The red planet looked unchanged, but she knew the truth now. It was never empty. It was never silent. It was watching, measuring, deciding. And far above them, something ancient continued its journey toward Earth. Not as a threat, not as a gift, but as a question.